what she did in Afghanistan and what happened to her. You can't tell that really with photos, but that photo grabs you in, and that is world famous. Conclusion number 2, we are visual creatures. Seeing something with our own eyes is kind of the next step in sharing something and learning about something. Words usually just aren't enough. And that's what these travel publications are doing. Look at the cover of every one of these things, right? How does it draw you in? Forget travel a moment. Cosmo, Vogue, everything. They have some seductive image on the front cover that is trying to sell you something, and photography is really, really important. So, brings us back to pornography. There's a quote you've probably heard. It's from Justice Potter Stewart. I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it. I think we can define pornography. Pornography is watching people do things you'll never do to people you will never do. Pornography is about fantasy. Now, the first conclusion I came to is that most people will never visit the places in these magazines. So why are they reading them? It's fantasy. We all want to travel. Hell, even the people here that have been to 40 countries, how many of those people, you want to go to more countries, right? Travel is part of what we do. It is like eating, it is like breathing, it is like sleeping. We all want to explore, and the demand for travel far, far, far exceeds the ability for people to travel. So travel porn is watching people do things you'll never do in places you'll never go. We've been talking a lot about blogging, and we're going to talk about SEO and monetization, but we should not lose sight of the fact that when all of that is stripped away, we are really, really, really fortunate people. 99.999% of the human race, going back in history, will never go and see and explore the things that we've done. And fundamentally, what we're doing is we're sharing that with other people. Yesterday, they talked about having a story, and they're right. But the communication and the new tools that we have today, it's not just writing a narrative story. That's part of it. That's a very important part of it. But it's a lot more. Every day of my life now, I get in a conversation with someone. They say, oh, where do you live? What do you do? And I'm like, travel around the world. I've been doing it for years. And they're like, really? And then they're fascinated by it. They ask me where I've been. They ask me what my favorite places are. That's part of telling the story. Me answering email messages from people, that's part of the story. A lot of you have destination-specific sites, and people are jazzed to go to that place. That's part of the story. You may have a website that deals with a particular niche. Maybe it's female travel, maybe it's gay travel, maybe it's baby boomer travel. And you know what? Those people, they want to hear that story too, because they want to go to these places. How many of you remember getting a copy of the Sears catalog for Christmas when you were a kid? And you looked at that thing and you was like, oh man, the Easy Bake Oven and the slot race cars, and oh, you just stare at that for hours. Well, what do adults do? Condé Nast Traveler, right? There are places we want to go. And people have mortgages and families and pets and jobs and other things, and no one is ever going to go to all the places they want to go. And that is fundamentally what we do. Travel bloggers. People fantasize about travel, and bloggers are real people who provide unfiltered access to the public of places, people, and experiences which most people will never see. And visual images are an important part of that. We are real people. Like I said, I am not a journalist. I have no background in writing, so I'm too stupid to know what I was supposed to do. I just went and did what I thought I would do. And that's not a bad thing, right? You all have some different story, some different perspective, and someone's going to find that somewhat appealing. It's unfiltered, which means sometimes I piss people off. That happens, but that's part of being real, that's part of having personality, and that's part of being unfiltered. You don't have to craft something together that's absolutely perfect that can never be taken back. Sometimes I have typos in my posts, and someone will say, hey Gary, you spelled that wrong, and then I'll fix it. There's the editing process. That happens. You know, that's part of the medium. And in all fairness, you can't do that in a newspaper. You can't say, everyone, that last week's issue, bring it back, we gotta fix it, and then we'll give it to you again. It doesn't work that way. We have that luxury. So, I hope